So I have conscripted Loretta and Alice and Maggie to chime in as fellow color blending people. And like I say, I have and I call some of my classes Painterly Skinner blends, but as I build my blends in a painterly fashion, but then I really actually take those painterly blends and create way more of a graphic linear design. So I'm not really using them as painterly blends, but that's how I begin. So I thought that I would quickly just do a tiny slideshow running through my thoughts on it, and then pass the baton to maybe, I forget who I said first, but maybe Loretta, Maggie, then Alice, and then it'll be open to questions. How's that, people?
Good.
Okay, so let me exit full screen, and then I'm going to do a screen share with my little slideshow, which is, you know, just a little slideshow. Hang on one sec. Okay. I think this is where I want to go. Is it true? So are you just seeing me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it says cancel the spotlight video. So I'm doing that. Is that true or is that wrong?
Yeah, that's
I tried to do screen share. It's not, oh, sorry.
Did you bring the video first?
Something's
There you
there
go.
now.
Here we go. I just didn't push share. So somebody mentioned the watercolor pencils, and I am a big fan of the watercolor pencils. And then you can see down here, okay, you got it. Then you can see down here, I have a little paintbrush that has a water bladder in it. And don't need very much water to make these interactive. So I usually only put about 8 drops of water in there. So it just keeps the brush damp. Otherwise, there's too much water. And sometimes I do look to Color Masters for like inspirational starting points. So for example, I looked at this painting and I found an interesting section in the painting that I thought had both kind of color interest and graphic interest. And then I start to mess with it and try and figure out what I would like to do with it. And so then and if you pull out the individual colors and kind of draw, you sort of make connections. Oh, that exists in it. That doesn't exist in it. Maybe I'd like that to exist in it. So I just find that to be a very useful tool. Now I thought I'd have a go forward button over here, but I'm not seeing it. Give me 1 second. Is it there?
Are you on a computer?
I am.
You could use your cursor key.
Oh, to just go
A
forward.
little arrow. Yep,
Yeah.
there you go.
So same thing. So then I might actually work out, because I do build a stack of blends. So then I kind of figure out what colors I want to create in that stack of blends. So same idea, just using those. And I use the Caran d'Ache. I feel like they have, for me, they have the kind of the richest color way, and I have a lot of those. So then I turned it into a very graphic thing that was just sort of loosely based on that original idea. And then I need to create each one of those fields of color as a blend. So I kind of try and work them out with my pencils, and then a series of blends that will then conspire to make the overall piece. So this is made from those blends.
Oh, is that cool?
Beautiful.
Delicious.
And so I made a bunch of them, and then I start to kind of paint the piece. This is, I guess this one is partially, this one is actually made into a cane, but here's a whole new colorway. What I'll do sometimes is, once I have all those stacks of blends, I'll chop them up and figure out where's their shadow, where's their highlight. So I'll chop this up and build cane as just a flat painting. And then once I've decided which pieces go where and what I've got, then I'll work out the pieces of the clay so that they are a cane. But I start by kind of sort of painting with them flat. And then I built the cane, and then I made a bead. So that's my process.
Gorgeous. Wow.
Wow.
That's kind of what I have to say about my process. And I know you guys have seen, and I've chattered about it before. So I didn't want to have too much there. So
Do I
now,
own that?
Over and over and over again. That is so interesting.
okay, is there any
Wow.
questions on any of that in particular before I pass the baton?
Can
Can
you
you
run,
quickly
can you run the
show
one
it again?
more time, but
The
not
whole
talk,
thing?
but not talk, just show the pictures?
Yeah, and just show the pictures.
Yeah. just
Run
be
through the
quiet.
pictures again from the beginning.
Yeah.
Cool.
You specifically want me not to talk?
Well, you don't need to.
Keep your mouth shut.
Shut up, Sarah.
You just sit there and smile, Sarah, because we see you on the
So
side.
pretty.
And if you have any questions, just blurt them out.
Sarah, have you made this cane yet? Have you got this done?
I did, and I tried to find the cane that I
Oh,
never
bummer.
took a picture of the cane. I made
Oh.
jewelry out of it, and that exists somewhere, but I don't think I have it, and I couldn't find the cane. I did
Mm.
build that graphic right there as a
Yeah.
cane,
Wow.
and it was pretty darn close to.
Oh.
Oh,
No,
Yeah.
this is
So,
the
and
part I don't-
this is just kind of revealing because I did try and really work out all the colors that I wanted to show up in there.
mhm.
And the
Mhm.
overall feeling is not, it doesn't feel the same as this. So I really
Mhm.
try to identify the colors as such and make them. And then
Mhm.
when you stack them up, as you can see, they add up to something different.
Yes.
That's
Wow.
fascinating.
That is cool.
And then
Oh,
Incredible.
this is actually, I think this might be the cane. I mean,
mhm.
it's a bastardized early cut, so it's not the clean cane, but I think that's essentially where it went.
Mm.
And I let go of things a lot during the thing. If I have all kinds of little tiny precise things, I let go of some stuff. It's
Yeah,
like, oh,
you have to.
clock is ticking and I'm moving.
Sarah, I remember you talking in one of the classes that you did here at my place that even if your mind doesn't identify the colors that you've put into that or the detail, it doesn't identify it verbally with words, unconsciously you still pick it up and it's still really important to you. And you think it's
Right.
else.
And somebody else spoke about the time and energy that I think that was that you, Christine, talked about that time and energy that you put into the piece. And
Yes.
even if the overall thing doesn't show all of those things, it's true that if you spend time with it and look closely, it's like, oh my God, there's so many little colors in there, whatever. And I say the same thing about intention. Like, if you put that much intention, I would tell my students, because sometimes they get frustrated because the process is so processy. It's definitely not for everyone. But I would say, if you can focus and make your intention go into the piece, that there's, even if it's difficult to extract it, it's there. And you can
Yeah.
trust that it's there. And
Yeah,
that
I
there is
agree.
something there for you to pull. So.
Mhm.
Wow.
Sketches.
Mm.
And that's that.
That's fun.
And that was it,
Mm.
playing out in pattern, because I do think in pattern. That's I'm a textiles person, and I do think in pattern, and so that's
Sarah,
kind of
are
fun.
those mirrors that you have?
That was actually a Xerox of a piece, and then I just mirrored it in the
Oh,
Xerox.
gotcha.
So some are kind of, it's just in the Xerox.
Wow.
And then you take all the pattern and all that, and then you can break it right back down again, because
Yeah.
you've got
Yeah.
this palette and you've got these colors and you've got these things to work with. So you
Mm.
can break it all back down and use only part of it, or double it up 10 times, but only using part of it, or whatever.
Sarah,
Yes.
your reduction process is quite wonderful, because you're going from something that's fairly flat, and you keep your integrity while you're reducing. And I know we all are reducers and have done a lot of reducing, but you know, your method is, you know, neat.
I don't.
Well, well, if you're a caner and you do production, you do a lot of reducing. But I have done it after seeing, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank.
Sandra?
San
Anna?
Diego, feet. Anyway,
Yeah.
it'll come to me.
Yeah.
What? Anyway, I do reduce large pieces with my feet, and there is a video of that on my website in case you want to see my little square feet, which I rarely take out of shoes to show. I'm going to put it on the web. And so I do reduce it with my feet, and then I use the arm of my chair, and then I can kind of use gravity. And then lately I haven't been making canes that big because I haven't been doing that much production type of work. So I've been making things a little more fast and easy. So I have been using the leather mallet, and that is my current favorite reducing tool. It doesn't stick to the clay, and you can just whack it real hard. And the center, you know, you can hit it hard without putting a lot of stress on your arm. And the center moves at the same pace as the outside. It's very, it works really well. So I've been using a leather mallet to reduce.
Tomorrow, could you show us the mallet?
Yes, it's in my little studio. Yeah. It's just, it's a regular metal smithing leather mallet, but I'd be happy to show you. Yeah.
Sarah, are
Yes.
you using Fimo?
And I use Fimo, and I use a lot of probably close to 20-year-old Fimo. I have Carol's old Fimo. I have Maggie's old Fimo. I have a lot of people's old Fimo, because I sort of put the word out that I like old Fimo. And I have, and you'll see in my video of my studio how much old Fimo I have. I have all of Grove and Grove's old Fimo. I have a lot of old Fimo, most of which, so I only have to buy like black and champagne. And that's about it, because I've got most of the colors that I have been using. And I just toss it in the food processor with some Mix Quick, and then I use my leather mallet, and then boom, into the machine it goes. And it's not as hard as you might think, considering it's 20-year-old Fimo. It's not as challenging as you might think.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop the share and pass the baton. And so you might want to highlight Loretta, and I'd love to hear what you have to say.
First of all, that was just fabulous. I love that. I love seeing process, and I especially love seeing how other people approach color. You know, one thing I always tell my students is inspiration is everything. It comes from everywhere, but it's necessary to the process. So seeing you go to an old master, a painter for color, it suddenly makes all of your beautiful work make more sense to me. But as I alluded to this morning, my color inspiration is almost always from the natural world. I don't think in terms of like you know how people will say I love color and they mean a lot of bright color. When I say I love color, I don't mean that at all. I generally mean the misty colors, the atmospheric colors and emotional colors. And I always, when I teach it, I teach palette building, because I think it's more about how the colors relate. I always say there are no bad colors, there are only bad color neighbors.
Right.
You know,
Ratio.
colors change by what you put them next to. And so my inspiration is always from the natural world, where I can see how the colors side by side operate. So, yeah, so I think in terms of like a painter, say you're painting an orange on the table, right? With a bright light. And there are, in painting, they'll teach you, there are 4 colors. There's the native color of the orange, there's the highlight, the low light, and the shadow. So I translate that into my color work. I think about where is this color going to be brighter and lighter? Where is it going to be darker and richer? And where is there going to be that hint of that bright native color that you get from an object in natural light? So yeah, so I think you need to include all those things when you're building canes or working in color. You need to also have that sense of hierarchy. What's the most important color? And down to, you know, the supporting colors. And finally, that I noticed on your last bead there, Sarah, that little bit of stripe, black and white stripe, that little graphic bit. It was such a little amount, and I thought it was so important to the composition because it really brings the pop.
Yeah.
And without the pop, like if you cover up that little stripe, you're going to see a very homogeneous palette, but it misses that little spice, that little something, something. So I'm always looking for that. I always want to add that little bit of something unexpected, something to pop the energy of the piece, because generally my palettes are quieter. They're not very, you know, they're not loud. So yeah, so that's what I think.
Okay.
That's
Maggie,
it.
you want to take up the wand?
For me?
Or do we have you, Maggie?
Yeah, I'm here. Oh,
Do you want to take up the wand with some thoughts?
I do. Okay. So I work very differently from everyone else. I don't do canes. I work straight with color wash, and that is a painterly technique. It's gone through many different names, from watercolor technique, I don't know, torn paper, all kinds of different things. But the reason I like it is because I can get a variation of the light and dark on what I'm working on without having to actually build it in. So for those of you that don't know, color washing, the more white you put under something, the lighter it gets. So this is the starting colors on top of a white, and then washed by pushing more white up through it. So in the end, you get something that's very light. So you can get, depending on what you want, you can get that play of light and dark, like what Loretta mentioned. So this is a color wash little one of the petals.
Ooh.
And this is flat, but it looks 3D in some ways. A little
Yeah.
Wow.
because it's, here's the vivid, or what you call the local, or the, I don't know.
Yeah.
What native. And then it's coming into light, coming dark, and coming into that.
Oh,
muted
yeah.
stuff.
And those are just backgrounded on the vivid? Yeah.
Wow.
Just pushing something else up through the color.
Right. So the color gets thinner and thinner and thinner, and you see more and more and more of the background. Okay.
Yeah. So not only can you push it into light, but you can push it into dark.
To dark,
Right.
sure.
So I wanted to show what the way that I work when I'm doing something like you showed this, which I happen to still have here.
Oh, it's just right there.
It's you know, it's got a lot of light and dark going on.
Yeah.
And also when you push something that's color washed, you're actually bringing the white up through it. So the highlights come from the texture. And on the back, it's much darker, because when I'm working this way, I make lots and lots of blends, right?
Mhm.
And then depending on what I put that blend on, I'm going to get a variation. So if I put it on, if I flip this over and show you the other side, okay, you'll see that it's where it's dark here,
Oh,
light on,
surprise.
and where it's
Oh.
light here, it's dark on this side. Okay, so what that's going to give me when I start pulling out the snakes is it's going to start lightening up the dark and darkening the light.
Oh, wow.
This is how I work with color, is this idea that you never see actually flat color. You're always seeing color in relation to light. So that's what you mentioned about, you know, something being in full light, highlighted, shadow, right? So that's what brings something to life, is that painterly look. We're all doing it this, for the same reason. Sarah's doing it, Loretta's doing it, but we're using different ways to do it. So the other way, though, to play with that is to do it crosswise. So if this is it now,
Right.
I've got light here and dark here. Okay, if I put something on this way,
Oh, yeah.
and then I go to stretch this out, okay, I'm going to stretch it out like this. So I'm going to get it so that it's pulled out this way. It's going to get lighter and lighter, and this way. And then actually I'm going to end up with a highlight across all of the colors, and then back across the colors it's dark.
Yeah.
And that's what something like this is, where it's got the light here and the
Oh,
so it's depending on how I play with the layer.
oh,
Very interesting.
that's fabulous.
So that's how I introduce this three-dimensionality and the painterly effects is to get that.
That's interesting. Very different.
Maggie, can I ask a question? When you're talking about the color washes, so you've got very, very, very thin sheets on a backing, and that backing can be varied or plain. And then are you rolling that up and then stretching it out? Or no, you're just pulling. So you're just running it thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner through the POS machine. Is that right?
No, the way I always work over everything I do starts with a 4-inch by 1-inch tube, basically, of scrap clay, and then I just wrap it. There's a wrap that's going to be it's washing,
Okay.
and then there's a wrap that's very thin, that's the color, and then
Okay.
So,
Got it.
so I'm sorry. So say that again. So you're wrapping. You have already a back on what you're wrapping. No, it's all in the tube. What the back is. No.
Can you show us?
Yeah, we're visual.
It's a tube just for the bulk, for
Yeah.
the core,
Yeah,
and then you put the background color, then you put the top color.
yeah,
They've already been sandwiched.
no.
We need a blackboard so you can just draw a picture.
I went looking for my demo stuff, but I've just moved everything back in here, and everything's. By tomorrow, it won't look like this. By tomorrow, it's gonna all be cleaned up. But
Maggie, we can do a whiteboard with this, and you could draw on a whiteboard on Zoom.
oh, I can draw on a whiteboard on Zoom.
Yeah, if we
Share
do
screen.
a share screen.
Ooh, cool.
I think somebody help me, Laura Bachman. Are you still there?
A lot of time for the technique.
It's
but,
in,
but it's very straightforward. There's a tube.
Okay.
Made out of what? Cardboard or what?
Scrap.
Yeah, it's what I
Oh,
have,
scrap.
Okay.
and it's well-conditioned scrap, and it's just a tube. It's just a tube.
A snake.
It's a
Yes.
A solid log, or is it a hollow tube?
It's a log. It's a log.
There you
Okay.
go.
Log. It's 1 inch by 4 inches. It gets wrapped with, if it's just going to be straight color wash, it's wrapped with white.
Okay.
And then it's going to get a thin layer of whatever the color wash is. And then I stretch it out. So sometimes I vary the layer that is the layer that will be, there's two different skin blends. There's one that's black and white. And then
Come closer.
Can't hear you.
We're losing you.
oh no.
there's some,
If
Yeah.
if you hit share content, whiteboard is in the list. You can choose to whiteboard and draw it if you want.
what do I draw?
We're good. We're good. We're
So
good.
I
share
get it.
content.
Yeah, I
it's
think
under,
we've got it.
Yeah.
all right.
So it's log, it's something that's the next layer that's thick, and then it's a thin layer of color.
And
that's-
so that next layer that's thick could be a blend like you've got, or it could be white, or it could be blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Mm.
Now, when you stretch it out, are you talking about in the pasta machine?
No,
No.
no.
No,
Just by
you're
hand?
reducing.
She's a pinch
Okay.
pot
The
lady.
opposite of reducing, elongating, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but-
Elongating.
Stretch.
Okay.
The scrap of the log doesn't bleed through the color of the scrap?
No, it's got thick, it's got that layer that's black and white or whatever is
That's
number
pretty-
thick on the pasta machine.
Okay.
That's a thick one. Okay.
Maggie, this is Maureen. If you wanted to do a small piece of jewelry that's using your color wash technique, you then take sections of that log that has the color and then flatten it and then cut from that the pieces that you want.
I don't think so.
No.
We need a demo.
Yeah, well, it's in here.
Okay, I'm sorry, I gotta go.
It's interesting how the approach is different for all three people.
Whee!
Oh, nice.
Right. And then we have Alice too.
So that's, see how
Oh,
it's dark and then it's light.
yeah.
And
How did you do that
fabulous.
leaf, that flat leaf?
There's no flatness here. These are cut from a log shape. See how it's
I understand, but how did you do the flat leaf you showed us in the beginning?
flatly. Oh, that was just to I did that for you guys to demonstrate that. That's just old.
And I think that is how you had mentioned, Jan.
That's all. That's what I used to do before I pinched it.
Oh, I see.
Right, right.
Nice.
Very cool. Very illuminating.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Here you can see that this is I didn't use flap in the middle. I used purple in the middle,
Hmm.
right, for the log. And then that thin line of white is just the line of white.
Uh-huh.
That line of white.
Very cool.
And the color wash is so.
Beautiful.
Very interesting. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
you,
Thank
Maggie.
you.
I would love to hear a little bit from Alice about your techniques because I know you
I think I should yield back. I should yield my time back.
no, you
I
you
don't
think
do-
in such a painterly way. I love your stuff.
You
So
just do it
I know,
differently,
but
Alice.
I mainly just do white and a color, but then and if I could just share screen for a
please do.
minute.
Yeah.
Let's see, start podcast. That's not it.
Oh,
Well,
it's
I was gonna try.
beautiful.
Did it come up?
Not yet.
Just your face.
Oh,
There we are.
Oh, it's trying.
I don't know why it won't do it here.
Did you
I was-
open your program before you
Oh,
did?
you're right. Hold on. There you
Oh.
go.
Yeah, there you go.
So is that a table?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So the background on that is just a Skinner blend, going from white to a color. And then I've taken it and added it to the background one little bit at a time, so it's variegated, but not in a straight Skinner blend. So, and the reason I switched to just white and a color right now is because I'm teaching and it's just so much easier. I'm teaching newbies most of the time in my town. It's just for people that have never touched clay before, I'm trying to get out of here. Stop. How do I stop
table.
now?
You're back. You're back.
And so that's what I'm working with now. I've played around with different colors and things and mixing together, but I really don't do a lot of that except when I add my colors, the different Skinner blends together, and I don't do anything but just go on gut feeling with my colors. So
And
I
you
yield back.
incredible, like the portraits, and I mean, you get a really painterly feel from your work, some of
okay.
your flat work, right?
Alice, talk about when you paint on glass a little bit.
Well, honestly, when Thursday we have Working Large, a presentation, and I have a whole film for that day, and it shows a lot of my work on that, and I can talk about it because I don't have any pictures really here of that. but I do work on glass, and then I'll take bits and pieces and blend them together, if that's what you mean with the faces.
And you
Yeah.
you put your image underneath so you have something to go by.
Exactly. That's how I do my tabletops, and that's how I do most everything that I do that's flat, that I frame. It's done on a piece of glass and then
So you
baked.
can
And then,
see your motivational piece under the glass and you work on that.
yes, and usually it's something that I've sketched out. And with my tables, that it's generally just this. I don't really have any great giant plan. I'm not a good planner like you guys are. I don't map out everything. I just kind of, do a loose drawing, unless it's the face, and then I just do the outline.
Yeah. Well, your work is very successful, I think so.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Me too.
I know we have other colorists in the mix. Is there anyone else who would like to add their voice to this discussion? And Carol, you do great color work, both Carols. Would either of the Carols like to have a little something to say on this topic?
I'm just on the
yeah.
receiving end.
Okay. Who's speaking?
Are there any Carols there?
There were two
Yes, I
Carols who spoke.
I am, but I'm just watching.
Okay.
Well,
Anybody
personally,
Well, Misha is a colorist too.
Yes, absolutely.
How about Carol Blackburn?
I'm here. Yes. To be honest, I don't understand color stuff, color wheel,
Get out.
color theory. I just bung any color that's there on my table. I just don't care. That's it.
That's how I feel, Carol. I just,
Who's that?
Alice.
Oh, Alice.
I agree. It's just gut.
Yeah, that's it. To be honest, in a sentence,
Well, you're very lucky then, because it turns out fabulous.
I think it's just luck, mainly. Yeah, I mean, I've been through the art college system, but it loses. I just get bogged. I can't do. I sat next to Maggie, who was my mentor at my first Pingree, and she was wonderful, and she had a wonderful color table, and she tried to not make me understand color. She was very good about explaining all the color theory, and I was thinking, it's going in and it's going out. Thanks, Maggie, for trying. That's the way I work.
Exactly my experience. This is Alice. Exactly. Maggie and I, and she tried to show me, and I just went, I don't understand. I still don't understand.
Good. I don't feel so alone now. Thank you.
Yeah. Misha can take, she goes, oh, and Cindy can do this too. Oh, just add this, a little bit of this, and you'll get that. And I go, what do you mean? I have no idea.
Do you have any?
I don't know how to do that.
You would like to add on your color mixing or blending? Because I know you do a lot of really beautiful color blends and thinking about color. Do you want to add anything?
I taught her everything she knows.
That's it. I have always, I respond. You guys were talking about design and what you respond to, and color has always been that for me. But remarkably, I have always kind of mixed color intuitively. Now, obviously, I have to have some art training to be able to do that. I do know, what's going to make what. But intuitively, I also combine my colors. But you can't do that just in your head. You have to see the colors. So what makes my color arrays and combinations so possible is that I have them readily available, laid out. So I will either have a whole variety of my pattern sheets of clay or canes, and a bunch of solid colors as well, but usually it's patterned sheets ready to go. And then with this huge massive array of colors laid out on my desk, then I can say, oh, that looks great with that. Ooh, and it's like Christmas morning. It's still exciting for me to work that way. So, and as far as mixing colors, when I teach, I talk about, starting with your basic color concept. If you want a lime, you've got your yellow and your blue and green, and I mean yellow and white, but you zhuzh it. And so, yeah, I just say, okay, now realize that certain yellows are stronger, certain blues are stronger. I start to do that by demoing it. But then I get too close to where I want to be, and I say, so for instance, you want to go this direction, then you can take it that direction. You can take it this direction. And either, that can be with black, white, the analogous color, or the even the opposite color. So, so those kind of terms are not, as I said, I work intuitively, but when I'm teaching, I try to explain it. But it's really there in front of me so that I can be intuitive.
Yeah, that makes good sense. I think that's good.
Sarah, this is Maureen. I'd like to share something I did after I took Maggie's class.
Yes, please.
Because I don't do jewelry that most of you do, and I'm not doing what Maggie did, but I don't know if you can see the color in this.
Oh, wow.
It's showing up too much light, but I used Maggie's color washing technique. You're not getting the color, are you?
A little bit. Maybe back it off. Put it closer to your face.
Yeah.
Okay. But I used that color washing technique to have the white coming through the layers of Spinner Blend, and it
Very
was
nice.
it was so fun to see, to transfer what she taught with the jewelry process to my characters. But what I recognized is how much white I used.
Yeah.
I used so much white, because when you put it under those Skinner blends, you get all that spectrum of shades and tones and all of that. I didn't use very much color, but lots and lots and lots of white. And so that's what I learned from Maggie's thing. It was great.
I order white
By the pound, yeah. Well, I think that's basically our little time frame. Actually, we have 2 minutes left. Does anyone have to say any other further, like, little ads, bits,
I
pieces?
just wanted to say, this is Kim.
Yeah.
I have an analogy. When I think of color combinations, I think of like chords on a piano, say. The colors I like to work in would be major chords, and they'd be played loud in the middle register. But like Loretta was talking about how she likes the atmospheric tone, so they might be with a damping pedal on it, and maybe some minor.
Very good.
I don't know. I hear.
Yep.
I don't hear it, but I think of it as they relate to each other. Each color relates in a chord. So
I think that's a great way of thinking about it.
what I have.
And for me, the two most fundamental things about color, which I think are true for everyone actually, is that they are subjective and relative. Like, color is always seen relative to what it's next to. And then how you feel about that, your subjective opinion about that, is unique to you. And those things are always true for color. And
absolutely,
everybody gets to make a choice in every way they can. And so I like that aspect of it as well.
I think Mark Rothko. I mean, the Rothko paintings, they cannot be reproduced in a book. You have to see them. But they are layers and layers and layers of colors that make up the spaces. I mean, have any of you guys? I'm sure many of you have seen Rothko.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just incomparable.
And I remember hearing Ford and Perlano say, as opposed to what I hear you saying is intuitive color, they talk about their color as visceral. They take a visceral approach to color.
Yeah.
That's very manly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, yeah.
it is. And intuitive is very
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
But we might want to think about taking visceral approach.
Yes, I have an intuitive approach. I'll be working and I'm putting things together, and I'm not that great with color, and I'll show Misha, who happens to be sitting right next to me, and I'll say, well, Misha, what do you think about this? And she'll look at it. Yes, that's one way to do it. Go back and think again, Julie. So then, you know, if she has no idea how many canes are on her table, if she's missing a few at the end of the day, it's not my fault.
Sarah, this is Maureen. There is a terminology for people that will have two senses going at one time, a little bit like what I was talking about, where color is sound. And I know that was also a metaphor, but does anybody here smell color?
Yeah, taste.
Color?
Synesthesia.
Synesthesia.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Oliver Sacks wrote a whole book about it.
Right.
Does anybody here have that experience?
Yeah, I do. Loretta, I do. I taste color.
I hear it.
Loretta?
Carol Blackburn tastes color as well, but she does it by licking.
Yeah.
Who is it that hears color?
Meredith.
Oh, hears. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, it
hear
sounded
it.
like him.
Meredith.
I don't actually hear it,
yeah.
but I envision it.
But yeah.
As a chord, like
I hear tone.
Well, and also in terms of music, it makes a structure that you can use. You can think about it in that structure, which is not so dissimilar to the color wheel and all the rules that go with color, but chords make up a different structure so that you can think about it differently. Like, where are the harmonies? You know, like.
Right.
And Judith surely saw it as mathematics, didn't you?
Yeah.
Geometry.
The triangle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I would say I have this weird, like, I have this weird, it's almost like a paint chip memory for color. Like, I really remember things like when I walk in and out of a place, but I remember colors from like when I was a kid, like in illustrations and stuff.
Like perfect pitch.
Yeah. But I get frustrated because I'm like, oh, I cannot, it's not really taste, but I know I'm like, that's not it, you know? So I'll do it by intuition, but when I get stuck, I go to my color charts. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Fimo. I'm like, oh, that's what I have to add to get it to the way. But I get stuck with the murky colors sometimes, you know.
I got in an argument with a Liquitex rep one time who swore up and down there was no color memory.
Baloney.
And that is so untrue. I watch my mom look at her living room and then go to the store, pick a pillow that matched exactly, and I got the same thing. So yeah, that's what you're doing.
Yeah,
Color
you know,
memory.
I think it just doesn't get highlighted, you know, like being a perfect mathematician, you know what I mean? Like, you know, being able to just do arithmetic absolutely rote, you know, it's like just a different skill set that doesn't necessarily get highlighted, but yeah, it's quite useful.
Well, Loretta, you know, you mentioned that, this is TJ, you were saying that you do color intuitively, but you also have, you know, the knowledge to back it up. I don't have the knowledge to back it up, but if there's a color that I want, I can intuitively mix it with paint or with clay, but I don't know the words for it. Like I couldn't like spell it all out, but I can do it. And I don't know, it's interesting because I don't know where that comes from. I've never learned how to do it. No one's ever taught me how to do it, but I can do it very close to the original color, which is amazing to me. I mean, I think it's like a magic
superpower.
No, I think, you know, musicians talk about this stuff all the time, right? But they don't, and nobody thinks it's weird that they have that talent or ability. We just have this talent, you know, it's not a big deal. It's just the way we're made. But I wanted to show you, can you guys see this? I'm not on.
Hiding you right
Yeah.
now.
I know
Yeah.
Maggie and I have talked about Kobayashi a lot.
Yeah.
This is
Kobayashi's
my
good.
little Bible here. And what it does is, rather than tell you how to mix colors, it gives you examples of colors that go together. And it shows you the difference, what happens when you change the proportion, the amount of a color that you're going to
Ratio.
use. Yeah, so there's a bunch of books, but I mean, look at that. Oh my God, that's yummy.
Those look like Loretta's pages.
They do,
Those
they
are
do.
beautiful. Just
That's
beautiful.
a dog eared
Yeah, okay,
page.
so here's somebody else. This isn't me. This is somebody else.
Yeah, that is not me.
But yeah, that's the book, a book of colors.
Okay, and that's Kobayashi?
Kobayashi is the color system.
Usual suspect?
Right, the user. What? I'll translate
What's that
what?
there, Maggie? Talk so you become full screen.
Oh, okay, here. So I've become. So it says, can you read that?
I'll translate the content in English and send it by email.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Oh!
look at
Wow.
that.
This is the one they're working on now. So yeah.
Oh!
Wow.
It's called Art of Color Combination.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
I want that.
It's not out yet?
No, it's not out yet. They have it in Japanese. Actually, you could probably get it in Japanese. But
Yeah, yeah. Nice.
You can
Very nice.
translate Japanese?
well, you don't have to translate anything. You're just looking at it.
Good job.
This is
You
Maureen.
get it
I have a
translated. I hear you, Jan.